Okay, let's begin. A regular council meeting, City of Twinsburg. Good night. Okay, Twinsburg Government Center, 7:47 p.m. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin? Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Please stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Scafidi.
Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the city of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so we can continue to move in a positive direction. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for approval of the minutes from March 27th, 2018. Are there any changes? Minutes will stand as written. Next, we have awards and presentation, and we're going to begin with Daisy Walker.
Come on up, Ms. Daisy.
So this evening we have a special presentation for Daisy Walker. We actually, she was nominated, for a Serve Ohio Award. And so she was, the city sent her name in, we sent a letter in, and so she had an honorable mention in terms of the Serve Ohio Award, and so got recognized for all her work she does for the Environmental Commission, and actually just throughout the community. So we wanted to bring her up. I don't know, you didn't know about this, did you? So we have recognition from Governor Kasich's office we'd like to present to you. And then also from Dave Joyce's office, we have a congratulations from him also we'd like to present to you. And I have Scott Barr with me. So Scott has actually served on the Environmental Commission in a previous life and now acts as a council rep for it. So I don't know if he'd want to share a few words about his work with Daisy.
All right, so we recently elected a new chair to the Environmental Commission, and I don't want to say I'm disappointed with that decision, but it is hard to find anybody that would fill Daisy's shoes. She is an asset to this city and this community. We are so fortunate to have her. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you. I know you're going to continue to serve on the board, and that is a wonderful thing, but you have made everyone's job up here easy, and we are just also appreciative. So thank you. I want to hug.
That's the first time I've ever seen her for lots of words. Usually she'll grab a mic and start talking.
Public participation.
All right.
Wonderful.
All right, next we want to bring up Assistant Chief Basso. We've got the CERT team that we're going to be recognized for their 5-year anniversary. So I can remember when he first proposed this to the city, wanted to organize an emergency response team of volunteers. He spearheaded it, he found funding, and he organized a great, I believe their roster is up to over 50 at this point. So, and if you've ever been to any event in Twinsburg, whether it's for little kids or for adults, you're going to see our CERT team. I mean, they volunteer and spend endless hours helping us keep all of our events safe, keeping, whether it's parking, whether it's roadways, whether it's the event themselves. I know they played a big role in our adult Easter egg hunt as we send adults out into the woods with flashlights searching for eggs, but they do a great job here in our city. And I know they work hard, they train hard. I mean, I just have a list of their training. So fire safety, search and rescue, disaster preparedness, triage and mass casualty, incident command, GPS and mapping, shelter check-in, crowd management, tornado spotter. That's just half the list. They attend almost every event that we do have here in Twinsburg, and they're constantly training. But I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Chief Basso. He can share a few words, and then we'll bring him up and recognize him.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. If you had asked me 5 years ago what CERT would have been today, I couldn't have given you the answer that I'm going to give you now. It is beyond my expectations and beyond the city's expectations. Besides all the events that they work, they also do disasters. These are the same folks that left their homes in November with no power and came in and did roadways, protected everybody, worked for the police because the police and fire were just inundated with calls. They stepped right in. They've also been on several calls where they've had people lost or have walked away. They've gone door to door. They're heavily trained, and they're just a joy to be around. And believe it or not, a couple of times that they've been deployed for the real events, I haven't been around. So it just goes to show you that their training and incident command and management and their resource management and accountability that night, and I think the police chief and fire chief, we all agree, they were the most organized team in the city that night. They knew where everybody was, everybody accounted for, and I just had to check in. I just gave them the work, and I went out and did my fire stuff. But I can't tell you what an honor it is to be the administrator for this team. They're selfless individuals. They're a lot of fun. If you come to our training, you're gonna laugh, the whole way through. There's start already. But like I said, if you would have asked me 5 years ago how the team would have played out, I would have never imagined it. So I'm here to wish our SIR team a happy 5-year anniversary, and here's to 5 more. So can't call all your names, but will all SIR members stand and sort of form a line and come on up and get congratulated, then stay behind the table, please.
No sneaking away.
Thank you. I'm handing out SIR challenge coins. They didn't know about this tonight.
That's trouble.
Rick, you're coming. Yeah, 'cause they're gonna take a picture of you.
What's
Stand
that?
right there, it has me in it.
Oh, she is.
We have one for each council member.
And I do have a congratulations certificate. Assistant Chief told me, well, they really have no place to hang it, but we're going to give it to them anyway, so maybe you'd like to hold this. There you go. Yeah, we can hang it in the trail.
You're all invited over. We're going to mix the thing with the fire. Everybody's been welcome to come over for pizza and cake over the fire.
Right now?
All right. I'll see you later. Meeting adjourned. There's food. Let's go. I haven't eaten yet. Mark me his ass. Okay. You delivered? Thank you, guys.
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much.
Congratulations.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Here you go.
You can wait up here. So I do have also a proclamation from Eileen Shapiro's office, and I'll just read it real quick. In 2012, the Twinsburg Community Emergency Response Team was chartered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the State of Ohio, and Summit County Emergency Management Agency. In February 2013, a dedicated group of community volunteers gathered for the first team meeting and began training. The Twinsburg CERT is administered by the Twinsburg Fire Department, a self-serving oversight committee, and the team command staff. Twinsburg CERT members are trained in fire safety, disaster and medical operations, search and rescue, disaster and psychology disaster preparedness, identifying hazardous materials, triage and mass casualty operations, first aid and patient packaging, incident command, radio communications, GPS and mapping, evacuation and transportation, shelter check-in, traffic management, crowd management, damage assessment, tornado spotter, and tornado siren test monitor. And notable community event assignments include Twins Day Parade and Festival, Rock the Park Concert Series, Taste of Twinsburg, Twinsburg Trot 5-miler, and this is just to name a few. And so Eileen Shapiro, Summit County Executive, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 10, 2018 to be Twinsburg CERT Day. This is the
Great job. That's awesome.
All right. I don't know, Assistant, you want to stay up here? I knew Chief was coming up. So. All right. We'll let people get settled. All right, so for the next, we're going to end up swearing in 2 of our new firefighter paramedics. Welcome as full-time firefighters to our fire department, and it's an exciting time. I know they've served with us some before, and it's great to have them join Twinsburg as a full-time firefighter. So we'll start with Brandon. Come on up. Gonna bring your family? Or?
With Brandon tonight, he has his wife Becky and his father Joe, who is a lieutenant up in Wicklow Fire, his mother Charisse, sisters Megan and brother-in-law Joe, brother Brian, sister Erin, brother Justin, and brother Jordan, and some nephews and nieces, I believe, in the family. So he brought the whole family tonight. I'm sorry, his in-laws also Les, Cindy, and Carissa. So we appreciate you all coming. Becky, you want to do the pledge? The honors, I should say. Yeah, we got the other part first.
All right, Brandon, if you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Brandon Cooper, do hereby solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio, the Charter, ordinances, and resolutions of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio, and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties as a full-time firefighter paramedic of the Twinsburg Fire Department to the best of my ability, as I shall answer to God. Congratulations.
I think it is. She was texting me like this.
As the mayor mentioned, Brandon has worked with us already about 6 months on a part-time basis, so it's good to be able to elevate him to a full-time status. So, congratulations.
Come on, whole family can come up. tonight with Demetrius, we have his mother Juanita and his uncle Larry Love and his fiancee Olivia and her children Sadie and Sean. Olivia, are you going to do the honors or Moss? Okay. It's way too smart.
Smart man. Yeah. Very.
All right, Demetrius, if you'd raise your right hand. I, Demetrius T. Butler,
I, Demetrius T. Butler,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
the Charter,
the Charter,
ordinances,
ordinances,
and resolutions
and resolutions
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
and will faithfully,
and will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a full-time firefighter paramedic
as a full-time firefighter paramedic
of the Twinsburg Fire Department
of the Twinsburg Fire Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
as I shall answer to God.
as I say answer to God.
Congratulations.
There it is.
Same thing with Demetrius. He's actually been with us for 6 years now as a part-time firefighter medic, so we'll be able to elevate him to full-time as well.
That's great.
And I think we're going to take a light pause in the operation here, so SERV and fire department people can leave the room. Yeah, this is a good time to leave, so if you're with this group, everything gets a little bit boring from here on
I'm
out.
going to get pizza, so I'll see you
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah.
See you when we get back.
Yeah.
Follow me, I know the back way.
All right, perfect.
I wonder where he got those. I'll have to ask him because
Do you have them?
I
The lady that Brent's with is Lou's sister.
I haven't left the house without
His
that.
kids were all
11 years
umpires.
now.
And he was big in TBL. I can't think of his last name.
I'm working on that.
So what's Brent's last name?
I know you said you was what? Struggling.
What's Brent's last name?
Not struggling, but
Just put his coat on.
yeah.
Fiorucci.
Yeah.
Year, 2,
Right.
3,
It's easy
4.
to pick back up. Yeah.
Yeah. The difference was, I think, even at my worst,
Okay.
Not a
So
ton,
you
yeah.
Move on?
His oldest son used to be a great umpire.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed that. To his dad.
Kid's got to be
Exciting.
25 now.
Okay, next we have audience participation.
You got the doors?
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
First, we have Matt Solera, Kathy Powers, and Marty Aho.
Oops. Thanks, Matt.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Shannon, Sarah, and Dave. Thank you for inviting us, allowing us to speak here tonight. On your agenda this evening, you have graciously put on a resolution to formally and publicly support our issue 3, which will be on the ballot on May 8th. It's a renewal levy that has been in effect since 1993 and has been successfully renewed every 5 years since then. It is a 6.9 mil levy that currently represents a little more than 10% of our operating budget. We've been very blessed with the city's partnership as well as the community support last year in passing a brand new levy. And this will actually allow us to continue the operations at the level that we currently have will allow us to continue our fine programming, some of which the superintendent has prepared some remarks today as well. This is not a new levy. This levy does not increase any taxes, for the district. So it is a current levy. Will stay that same way, and we appreciate the opportunity for you to hopefully publicly recognize and support that this evening.
Good evening, Mrs. Stoffer, Mayor Yates. Thank you for allowing us a few moments here this evening, Council, just to address the need to pass the renewal levy. Mr. Aho is also here with me this evening, along with Mr. Salura, to ask for your support of the 6.9 mil renewal levy, which will be on the May 8th primary election ballot this year. As a renewal levy, our residents will not see an increase in their real estate taxes because of this renewal. The reason the Twinsburg City School District's Board of Education determined the need for the 6.9 mil renewal levy is to maintain the current educational opportunities and programs for our students. Simply put, families send their children to school each and every day with the expectation they will receive high-quality academic programming, support services, and opportunities that will allow each student to achieve at his or her highest level and be prepared for the future. The renewal levy is a significant piece of the Twinsburg City School District's funding model. If the renewal levy does not pass, the loss of the revenue will significantly impact the district's ability to provide the services our students need and our community expects. I'm very proud of all the programs and opportunities our school district provides our students, and I like just to name a few. This year we launched the Academy at Twinsburg High School, which is the district's workforce development initiative. Thanks to the strong partnership we have developed between the Twinsburg City, the Village of Reminderville, the Twinsburg Township, and the Twinsburg Chamber of Commerce, 55 businesses to date are partners with us in this new academy development. Students are now provided significant opportunities to learn about career options through coursework, seminars, site visits, and internships. I believe the Academy at Twinsburg High School is a model program in the state of Ohio, and we've been saying that quite often lately. This year, Project Lead the Way was launched at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. Project Lead the Way is a research-supported approach which empowers students at our middle school to discover and explore interests, imagine and design solutions to deal with real-life challenges and become independent, confident problem solvers. Project Lead the Way's pathways in computer science, engineering, and biomedical science provide hands-on learning opportunities for our students. Finally, our integrated preschool program at Wilcox Primary School provides the very best in early learning opportunities for our very youngest Tigers. Our integrated preschool is rated a 5-star program by the Ohio Department of Education, making our program among the very best in the state of Ohio. The Twinsburg City School District seeks the renewal of the 6.9 mil levy this May, so that we can continue to provide these uniquely Twinsburg opportunities for our Tigers. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your continued support of our school district. And if you have any questions, any of us would be very happy to answer them at this time.
Anybody have any questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Okay. What are the schools that collectively is going on with trying to get the state to change the funding method? I mean, I'm reading it here, they're off 20 years ago. The Supreme Court said, hey, it's unconstitutional the way you're funding the schools. I don't know about you, but I haven't heard of one state legislature going to jail for contempt of court for not following the court's ruling. Is there any, I mean, I think you got to get loud and proud to get a change. I would certainly back you guys on on something like that, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. As a matter of fact, the school district belongs to an organization called the Alliance for High Quality Education. I sit on the board of directors of the Alliance. The work of that committee is driven for the purpose of trying to encourage the General Assembly to address the school funding model. We continue to meet monthly with other superintendents across the state and with the legislators to try to develop language in the process of the bills and to ultimately provide some relief to public schools across the state of Ohio.
How about relief to the taxpayers across the state of Ohio? I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of the property tax anymore. I'm a little concerned with this one that some of our elderly homeowners are getting close to being forced out of their residence because of property taxes. And I just don't want to see that happen. So this is not an easy thing.
Right, and we appreciate that. Certainly, my mom's on a fixed income, so I really understand what that is all about. But we do like to say that the quality of the school district in your community means a lot to the value of your home for all residents, including the senior citizens on fixed incomes.
Okay.
Any other comment or question? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
Is there any other audience participation?
Yes, next we have Ron Greenway. Pass.
He's passing.
Passing? Oh.
All right.
All right.
Next we have Bob Hughes.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Bob Thews, 2229 Demi Drive, Meadowood, Twinsburg. First of all, I'd really like to congratulate the Twinsburg and Larry Finch and on landing that O'Reilly business. That's really a nice deal. And the 400 people that will be working there, of course, it's going to take some time to build it up. They're not being paid at the real high end of the wages, but it's nothing to sneeze at, okay, from that standpoint. It will contribute somewhere between $220,000 to $300,000 to the income tax for Twinsburg. And I'm not talking, I don't know about the tax abatements, and I'm not even going to try to estimate that. So we will get it probably, as they said, it'll take about 5 years. The bad news is that the first 5 new hires for the banquet center, their salaries and benefits will consume all of that and more. So that means we start talking about 47 more employees, part-time employees, that they'll be on the city's dime forever. So, yeah, you need to think about that a little bit, you know, that it takes 400 people to pay for 5, okay, to do that. Now, I don't know where we ever got this idea that the Twinsburg could successfully run a business, okay? We've been already averaging around $4 million a year of debt since 2013. And now we're going to compete with people who have successfully run businesses, and we're going to hope to win. I can tell you, in the past, municipalities have tried this and failed the majority of the times, or should I say they subsidize that particular facility for life. 50% of the commercial restaurant startups fail in the first year, and we're starting a restaurant. Are we that much smarter than everybody else that we can get away with this? Now, granted, there are a couple things here. First of all, this wasn't done in a vacuum. You guys have some idea and you have some thought and expertise about doing this. And I'm sure there's already banquets booked, although we still don't have a date when it's going to open, so we may lose some of those banquets if they're already booked for in the right time. I don't know. So When the banquet hall idea was originally proposed, I was clearly under the belief that the restaurant and possibly the banquet facilities were going to be subcontracted to people who knew this business. We would charge a toll for that facility, and at that time I had my doubts as to whether it would be paid for itself, but it was better than the city trying to something where we've never proven successful. Evidently, I was misinformed. The only thing we stand to gain in this process is possibly the elimination of existing commercial businesses in that area through unfair competition. You see, they have to pay rent and they have to pay utilities out of their take. Okay, with the city banquet hall, the people of Twinsburg will pay for the rent, utilities, debt burden, and so on. I sure hope that Mr. Finch can sell that old school property to a business that wants to build a high-rise with as many highly paid people working there as possible. We'll need all the income we can get to keep from going broke. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes. Last, we have Daisy Walker.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council and staff. Daisy Walker, Environmental Commission. I'm not going to be before you very long. The first thing I want to talk about is the rain barrel sign-up sheet. On April 21st, which is our Earth Day on a Saturday, a scout by the name of Zay Kleckner, he will be, there will be a sign-up sheet for him, and he'll be giving out 25 rain barrels with the attachments on it. And he needs people to sign up, and if I have the sign-up sheet right here. If you, after council, if you want a rain barrel, just come to me and I'll take your name and number. But he will also give you the attachment and attach it to your house for free. We only have 25 rain barrels. The rain barrels are worth over $100. The attachment is worth about maybe $40, $50. So you're getting $150 worth of supplies, plus his hard work, you know, installing it to your downspout for free. So see me after council. Number two, I had a meeting with council and the mayor prior to getting appointed on to be another environmental commission. And I had talked to Joanne McPherson, and she goes, Daisy, she says, can you get some grants? And I told her there's a grant for everything. So I have a grant for butts, for cigarette butts. And Mayor, remember it was last October that, and I made a copy of it, that we had a resident by the name of James Wade, and he said he picked up 1,000 cigarette butts in one day. And I went online after that, and I'm thinking, we have to start doing something about this. So there's a Keep America Beautiful. They have a cigarette litter prevention grant program, which means that they will give a municipality or company that's associated with Parks and Rec anywhere from $2,500 up to $20,000 just to pick up cigarette butts. And it states here that cigarette butts remain the most littered item in the United States and comprises of 28% of all U.S. roadway litter. 32% of litter, they either go in or around our stormwater drains, and it's full of tobacco products. Now we know that the cigarette butt, it's not degradable. It'll last longer than the plastic bag. It's killing the humans who smoke it, and it's also killing the animals that, you know, will consume it. And they already awarded their 2018 grant already, and that's closed. They're going to open up January 2019. They presented the grants already, and it ended, I think, the end of March. And so next year, the Environmental Commission, we're going to be applying for a cigarette butt litter program, and we want to continue with the mission statement of keeping Twinsburg naturally beautiful. On the other hand, I'm working with Public Works, and I think the city of Twinsburg has some property on, what is that, on Church Street that needs a handicap ramp. Anyway, he told me about it. And the handicap ramp, I know Lowe's and Home Depot, they will furnish the manpower and the wood, and they will help us get it done. And it'll offset the cost of whatever the city needs to pay. So I'm working with Chris Campbell on that so we could get that done with no cost to the city of Twinsburg. Lastly, I just want to thank you for this. It was a surprise, and I'm looking at Shannon. Why isn't my name on there? And she didn't say a word. And it's hard for anybody to surprise me because I come from a family of 12, and we didn't keep secrets. So I have to tell you, this is the best kept secret, and I thank you so much for this. I really thank you. And I just want to say, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Maestro, and all of council, and all of you guys, I just want to thank you again for believing in the Environmental Commission and appointing me again to be a commission. It's not work, it's just fun. It's like an adult having fun, and Twinsburg is just my big old playground. And I want to thank the environmental commissioners. We have the best commissioners yet, the ones that you have, so great. And we had a great meeting. It was probably one of our best meetings we had, and it was just wonderful. Thanks to Public Works for working on our signs. Our signs will be ready the Earth Day signs will be ready to put up on the square. And we did get permission from Twinsburg Township. Thanks to the residents and the volunteers for making 2017 another successful year for the Environmental Commission, because without you, we can't do anything. And it says the Environmental Commission has teamed up with many partners to support the city of Twinsburg, and their motto is to keep Twinsburg naturally beautiful. And without all the support from you guys, from the residents, from our volunteers, and from our Environmental Commission, it wouldn't have been possible. So again, thank you so much for believing in the commission. It's the best commission that I've ever worked on, and it's the only commission that I've worked on, so I have nothing to compare it to. And thank you again for being recognized. I love all of you. You're just so kind.
Daisy, if I can, I'd like to say one thing. You know, back in January, Nick Ciafani from Congressman David Joyce's office sent us an email, and he mentioned this recognition. And between those emails that were going around through all of us, the first name that came up was Daisy Walker, as a nomination. And so, and we were all in agreement on that. And thank Joanne McFerrin for taking the lead, and she's the one that submitted the application on our behalf. And so we want to thank Joanne, but we really want to thank you. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Thank you for all you do for us. That commission today wouldn't be what it was if it wasn't for you. So we appreciate all your work.
Thank you. It's just an adult having fun. That's all it is.
Thanks, Daisy.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Is there any more audience participation? Okay, this time then we'll begin with our council communication and committee reports. Mr. Fury.
Thank you. The Twinsburg CIC will meet on April 17th at 6 p.m. in the jury room behind council chambers. Earlier this evening, Jim Susnick from the VFW talked about their support in their applications to several branches of the military to get a monument of some sort, of a helicopter, a jet, a tank, something to access the Veterans Park, and asked if the city would grant them permission to investigate this. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that the city support, upon a final approval, that the VFW apply and if awarded, place a military hardware representing all branches of service in Veterans Park. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yield. Okay, Mr. Scapidi seconds. Any discussion? Okay. Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Thank you. I also would like to congratulate Daisy Walker. You bring such energy to everything that you do. Mr. Thews, I'd like to respond to a couple of their comments that you made. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I'll get it. But I believe today there is less debt long-term in the city of Twinsburg than when I started on council. Liberty Park's basically paid off. We've paid off the majority of the long-term roads, Victorian. We have some water lines at zero interest that we've taken some debt on, but again, those are zero interest loans over 30 years. If you look at a cost of money matrix, probably make money on that in a certain calculation. So I would challenge that saying that we are, incorporating $4 billion of debt a year is not an accurate statement. I'll tell you that the project that we have going forward with the clubhouse was a $6 million new construction product, but it didn't come out of the general fund or the capital equipment. We're doing interest-only loans until the project opens. And at that point, we'll bond out over a 20-year period the cost of the construction. So we're not siphoning money out of the general fund at all while we go through this ramp up of that facility. I also heard the 47 part-time employees, and I actually had a meeting with the mayor earlier today, and that's not the number. And we're going to get more information on the operation, but I'll tell you that it was the model in the beginning and is the model currently to outsource the catering. The mayor's told me that there are 4 different catering companies that they've already got agreements with and are going through a process of booking appointments as we speak, so that we will be utilizing outside sources for the large events. But a grill room, we've always talked about a grill room, and as other municipal golf courses have had in this area, other clubs have, and that would be operated by part-time and a few full-time employees that the mayor's asked us to put in place. I'm optimistic that this will be a success. My name's on it too. But I will tell you that the numbers that we came up with as far as paying off the debt service for the construction, as well as the revenue we're going to get from being able to sort our own carts and maintenance those at that facility, and the additional year-round revenue, because right now, hey, if it snows between November and March, I mean, I played golf in North Carolina. I haven't touched a club on Glen Eagles in 5 months. But a banquet room and a grill room gives us year-round revenue, and that's something we haven't ever had there. And this project is pretty much in the same scope that we're putting in place now, the same one that Kathy Prokop had me in a meeting with 20 years ago when I was just on the Parks and Rec Commission. So I understand that there are some questions out there, and it looks pretty grand, and it's going to be really nice and proud. We'll be proud of it in the city. But we are taking in additional debt at this time. We will once it's released, with the projections, and a very conservative. In fact, I thought the mayor was too conservative on the numbers he had coming back to pay that debt service. So I think it's a little rosier picture than maybe you presented, and I'd like to, if you have any specific questions, I'd help you run them down. So, and thanks, Bob.
Ms. Stoffer, can I jump in while the topic's hot?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to make a few comments. There was an opportunity after we closed public participation, but you really focused in on the expense side, and there's a whole different revenue side to it. So as we look at numbers for the clubhouse and for the restaurant, and yeah, we booked a significant number of events through, we've up into 2020 at this point. So there is hopes in terms of an original goal and plan, and we're all nervous about this. This isn't something that we all feel extremely confident that we're going into, but again, this is another one of those projects that the city has done that, I'm sure when we purchased Liberty Park for $12 million back in the day, there was a lot of controversy and a lot of residents that stood up at that podium and said we're making the worst decision we could make. I can't imagine the city without Liberty Park today. Our fitness center, it was another significant investment by this community. And again, I know we've subsidized over the years, but in terms of quality of life and what we offer here, I can't imagine this community without our fitness center and what we provide to our residents here. So I understand this is a challenging project. It is. There's a ton of work going into it, a ton of people that invested time and effort and experience and hopefully making it a success. But you know, at the end of the day, I think when you walk in there and you see the operations that have been set up, I think hopefully you're going to be proud of it. I know the residents will be. It's going to be a beautiful facility. I got a call today from someone who was listening to a random sports radio show, and a caller called in and started talking about Glen Eagles and wanting to play golf, and they went into a full-blown advertisement for our new clubhouse up on the air. So it's being talked about all over this northeast area, and hopefully we're looking back and, you know, in a couple years, glad we made the decision. But again, it's like anything we do in this town. There's risk involved, but to get opportunity, you have to have risk. So, you know, we hopefully have balanced that out, and you know, it's going to be a success and something the residents will really be proud of.
Great, thank you. Anything
That's all I
else,
have.
Mr. Fury?
Thank
Mr.
you.
Steele?
Bring this back. Okay, the ARB met on the 5th. It was the second meeting that the new building in Arbor Glen was discussed. It was passed with a couple of notes attached to it. Wendy's was in. Wendy's is going to be changing their exterior and doing some work on the interior. And it's red and brown. Looks pretty similar to McDonald's. And that's just the way they're all going. I think the guy that was working on it said he's doing buildings for Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, and they seem to be all going in the same direction. And they did approve a home addition on Gettysburg Drive. And that was the meeting. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Scafidi?
Thank you. Good evening. Just a couple quick announcements. The Board of Zoning Appeals will meet tomorrow night right here in the Government Center at 6:30. And on Thursday, the 12th, at 6 o'clock, our Charter Review Commission will meet for the first time since they met probably 5 years ago. And this will be an organizational meeting, but they'll get started on how they're going to proceed to go through our charter and any recommendations that they might have. Finally, I just want to take this moment to, again, congratulate our CERT team. Gosh, I remember when they first approached us 5 years ago. I can't believe it's been 5 years. And what that group has grown to be. I attended a meeting at the fire department. I think it might have been their first organizational type meeting. And to see the group that was up here tonight and to see what they've done and what they do for the city, I think it's really tremendous, and congratulations to them again on their 5-year anniversary. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the Planning Commission met on April 2nd. They had approved the final site plan for that Arbor Glen apartment building. There'll be 53-unit senior living. So they approved that. There was some discussion on revising some tree and vegetation regulations, but I believe that's coming up at their next council meeting. Oops, I think I got everything there. And that's the only committee that has met for me. Mr. Bellin.
Good evening. I missed the last council meeting, so hope everybody had a good spring break and you're back enjoying this beautiful spring weather that we're having. Construction update on Joanne Lila Place improvement project. This week, the sanitary sewer work on Joanne Place will be underway. It'll take approximately 2 weeks to complete. Upon completion of that sanitary main line on Joanne, the contractor will then move on to Lila Place for the sanitary installation, anticipated the week of 4/23. Next Golf Advisory Board meeting will be Tuesday, May 15th, 6:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers, where I will be swearing in our new Golf Advisory Board members. I'm looking forward to that. I had a conversation with the Chief Park Ranger at Summit Metro Parks. Recently, within, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was some graffiti there. And I reached out to see if there was anything that we could do in terms of either stopping that or avoiding that, or whether it be cameras or those kind of things. So I have a follow-up call scheduled with him later this week, and I will report back next council meeting. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bone. Mr. Barr.
Good evening. Thank you. The Environmental Commission met Tuesday, April 3rd. We met in the engineering room. There was some conflict here in Chambers. We swore in 2 new commissioners. We're really looking forward to getting them up to speed. I, again, cannot say thank you enough to Daisy. She has just been an example of how you run a committee. We're so fortunate to have you. With that said, we did elect a new committee chairperson. That is Chuck Bonacci, and he has very, very big shoes to fill. So I will be watching him. We also had a few guests from the Garden Club. Like we'd mentioned earlier, we had moved our meeting dates from Thursdays to Tuesdays so we could accommodate that. So it was really great that we had some of those folks show up. We had some great conversation. Earth Day is my last chance to push Earth Day before the actual day. It's Saturday, the 21st, and we've even got events starting on Friday, the 20th. There's going to be a responsible food choices program here at Twinsburg City Hall. So if you want to come, it's everything from farm to table to making healthy, ethical decisions about how and what you eat. There's all sorts of fun stuff planned on Earth Day. I don't want to get into too specifics. Daisy mentioned the rain barrel giveaway. That's an awesome Eco Scout project for this young man. And like she said, it's a great opportunity for people to get a $150 rain barrel actually installed at their home. So it's a great way to conserve water. You can use that water for all sorts of stuff. Whether it's just watering your potted plants around the house or rain garden type of activity. We are looking at doing a community shred day. We're currently working on dates for the second half of this year. On that note, I also want to mention that the Masons Lodge, the Ashlar Lodge number 639, is doing a community shred day. It's open to the public. It's this a few Saturdays coming up after Earth Day. Saturday after Earth Day, it's April 28th from 9 to 12. It's at their lodge location on Shepherd Road here in Twinsburg. And they are accepting donations for that. I believe that the donations benefit the Summit County Children's Hospital. Summit County Special Olympics. I apologize. Correction. The next Finance Committee meeting is here in Council Chambers at 6 p.m. It's scheduled for April 24th. I believe Mr. Freer mentioned that we have a CIC meeting next Tuesday, April 17th. It'll be at the jury room here at 6 p.m. And also wanted to just say thank you to Twinsburg Parks and Rec. I attended the candy scramble and wet egg hunt with my children, both of whom did not need any more candy or sugar, and thank you for that. So I've been picking up wrappers for the last 10 days. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Mayor?
Thank you. Good evening again, everyone. Just talk about a couple of things, and just before I move on, I just want to congratulate and welcome Brandon Cooper and Demetrius Butler for joining our fire department. They're going to be a great addition. We've had some retirements, and I know we're going to continue to have some retirements over the next 3 or 4 years, so you'll probably see us swearing in some new faces here as that department kind of starts to change hands a little bit. Our CERT team, again, they do such a great job in our community. It's great that they have the support that they do, and the volunteers that are committed to, doing all the events that they do, and some of the extra work. I know they spent time. They know our metro parks. We have 2,000 to 3,000 acres out there that they know like the back of their hand. They've gone out and they've labeled certain benches and different things with GPS coordinates. So if anyone gets lost, there's different, easier ways to find people. And I know we had an event with a lost elderly lady, and they were able to mobilize on like a Friday night, 15 to 20 CERT members to go out for a search and rescue. So they're committed to what they do, and they take pride in all that. So I want to congratulate them. I am doing tomorrow, my State of the City is going to be redone for our seniors. So if there's a senior watching this, if they see it, I guess, before tomorrow, I'm not sure. But I will be doing that up at the Senior Center tomorrow. On April 28th, I just want to announce that TBL and TYSL will be doing their opening day celebrations. They've been doing them for a couple years now. Last year they got canceled because we had a beautiful spring like we're having right now. Hopefully by the 28th we have a little bit of sunshine and let the kids get out and enjoy it. But it's a great event. Even if you don't have kids involved in that, I encourage you to come up to it. They really do a great celebration of kind of an opening day for both our baseball and our softball leagues. And I've been blessed to be invited back to throw out some opening pitches. I've never done a softball before, so I got to figure out what to do with that. I don't know if I can do an underhand or not. I'll see. Another event going on is Coffee for a Cause, and that's April 14th at our library. So I want to announce that, encourage everyone to come out. There's a charity organization called ACBC, so it's Aluminum Cans for Burned Children that it's really a fun event. If you haven't been to it, we have high school kids that come out and perform, whether it's musical events or they're whether it's singing or they're playing instruments. It's a fun time, and there's a bake sale going on, so a lot of different things for the family to do. So I'd encourage you to come out to that. And then also want to throw a plug out for Earth Day, and again congratulate Daisy on her award. But besides the Environmental Commission, there's been a committee of people that have been meeting and actively and working very hard to put on a really good Earth Day this year. They do a great job every year, but the best way to support Daisy and her award would be to show up on Saturday and come celebrate Earth Day, right? All right. So, and then lastly, I know Council's going to be voting on it, and we mentioned it earlier, but I just want to welcome O'Reilly to Twinsburg. Hopefully this is a place that you call home for a long time. And that is all I have this evening.
Thank you.
We'll move on to
Okay, we'll move on to,
department head reports.
yep.
All right. I don't know, Jim, you want to start?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. The golf course came out of winter very good considering the weather we had over the last several months, and we do plan on opening the course for play this Thursday, so let's keep our fingers crossed for that. Winter maintenance is complete on equipment and everything is ready for the season. Also, the golf course accessories such as tee markers, benches, ball washers, trash cans, and they have all been cleaned up and painted during the off-season. Our main focus now is preparing the golf course for opening and getting the greens, tees, and fairways in shape. We have been taking advantage of good weather days, and we're able to get out on the course and pick up debris from some of the storm events that came through, and also continue to remove a lot of the poor condition ash trees around the golf course. This year, as some of you may know, the nines are going to be reversed, meaning hole number 10 is going to be hole number 1. So we removed the existing hole location signs from all the tee boxes and installed new ones. The new signs indicate the proper hole number, yardages, and have the new logo on them as well. Also, a new fairway yardage marker system is going to be implemented this year too. On tonight's agenda, there's legislation for approval to purchase a new mower that will replace an existing 2001 unit that was discussed earlier at the caucus, and we hope to have that in use this spring. Lastly, I am working on seasonal hires, getting the crew ready for the year. And if the weather does take a turn for the bad, after we open on Thursday, we'll be open on a day-to-day basis if the golf course becomes too wet and if it becomes unplayable. But we hope that isn't the case. So once we open on Thursday, hopefully we can just keep it open. But the way the spring has been, you just don't know. So we're excited about opening on Thursday. I encourage everybody to come out, hit some balls, come on out and play the course. So other than that, that's all I have this evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Derek, you want to go?
Good evening. I do want to just piggyback on the CERT team. As an event planner here in town, one of the first things we think of before any event we ever do is is thinking about, crowd security and, getting with Assistant Basso and figuring out how we're going to handle all these people, what happens if something goes wrong. And the CERT team has been a vital role from concerts to festivals on the square to even as silly as the adult egg hunt. I mean, things like that keep me up at night. I don't stay up as much because they're involved. So I do appreciate what they've done for us in the city for the past 5 years. And Daisy as well. We've been doing many things together for many years, and it's always nice to work with Daisy on that. So I appreciate that very much. We're in getting ready for summer mode, probably like the golf course. We are hiring day camp staff. They're almost all on board right now. Volunteers are coming on board. We're still getting a few more lifeguards, a few more other aquatics, concession stand people, getting that all together. We are also getting ready for the concert, so the Rock the Park schedule. If you see our fan us on Facebook, you can see the schedules being released this week. We did 2 shows already, and we'll do them every day for the next few days until the complete schedule is released, with tickets going on sale Monday at 8 a.m. For that whole series. Day camp registration too. Now that we have our staff, now we can start signing up for day camp, which is this Saturday for city residents at the community center from 8 until about 11 o'clock, signing up for camp. And then that will start at 9 a.m. online. So if you're getting a little early, do it in person. Online starts at 9 o'clock. Another event that we're working with a partner on is the Cleveland Reggae Festival, which is May 26th. That takes place at our venue. We work with a company called, Taste CLE to do that. We did it last year as well. And that is also the same day the water park opens. So it'll be really busy that Labor Day weekend up in the park. And then immediately after that is June 3rd on a Sunday is our duathlon, which is run 2 miles, bike 10 miles, run 2 miles, and we work with a company, North Coast Multisport, on that event. That'll be at the fitness center. As we told you last time, we've rearranged our schedule with the schools for our theater production. So theater production will be in the fall. That is The Wizard of Oz, so that'll be the last 2 weeks in September. And we will also do a small kids-only show at RBC like we did last year. We'll be doing Annie for that one. That'll be in July. Taste of Twinsburg is in the works for June 9th. I know it's been on a few old websites, Facebook, a different date, but it's June 9th is the day we are going with. Working with Jackie with the Wild Roots. It was called the Flea on the Square or something last year.
Oh, yeah.
That's the new branded name is Wild Roots, and so we're going to do it in conjunction with them. So that'll all be going on the square, and the entertainment and taste will be on the street, or on Church Street. Looking at luminosity, the display that's been out in front of City Hall will not be there this year, so we're looking at some different ideas of what to do at City Hall's location. So I'll come to you when we figure out a few options. And then community gardens is always kind of that time of year. When can we get in there? When can we get in there? This is not the time, but we are hoping for around Mother's Day is when we push forward to get the community gardens open. And we still do have plots available, so if anyone is interested in that, you can stop up at the community center and register for a garden plot. And then lastly, we are doing a few software upgrades, hopefully make it easier at our concession stands for our staff to sell stuff. So we do have some changes going internally behind the scenes for some software changes at our concession stands. And that is what I got.
Thanks, Derek.
All right, thank you, Derek.
Thanks, Derek. And just to mention one more event, I know we last year kind of brought the first national kind of Christian rock band to Rock the Park. They contacted us. That's all right. They contacted us this year and offered us a deal we really couldn't refuse. Basically, we'll do everything and give you a piece of the profit. And so they're coming May 17th, which is a Thursday. A little unusual night for us, but it kind of fit into their schedule. It's about a 70-stop tour they're doing throughout the country. So they'll be, Sidewalk Prophets is a band, so they'll be coming here on May 17th, and I'm sure you're going to hear and see more about that too. All right, Chief Noger.
Good evening. Instead of my usual report, I want to bring to your attention that this week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, a time for us to recognize and say thanks to those who work in public safety communications centers across the country. They are the gateway to public safety services. the first to take the call, but the last to know the outcome. This thin gold line is the behind-the-scenes glue that holds police and fire and EMS services together. They're the calm voices in the dark night, and yet they often do not receive the thanks that they deserve for calming a frightened child, for providing life-saving CPR instructions to a caller, for asking the right questions in order to provide crucial information to first responders answering a critical call. We are fortunate to have an elite group in our communications center that works in partnership with the police and fire department. I added it up. We have collectively approximately 150 years of service, communications dispatching service in the department right now. So I'd like to recognize Communications Supervisor Christine Yakupovich and the following members of her staff: Dispatcher Loretta Nash, Dispatcher Ron Good, Dispatcher Jennifer Vecchio, Dispatcher Kelly Brokaw, Dispatcher Chris Freed, Dispatcher Patty Taronsky, Dispatcher Miriam Stubbs, Dispatcher Jackie Brummer, Dispatcher Lindsay McGann, and Dispatcher Megan McGowan. Without them, our jobs would be impossible. Thanks to all of them for their dedication and service to our community. And that's all I have tonight.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Morgan?
Good evening. For the month of March, the fire department responded to 241 calls for service. For the year, that brings us up to 740 calls, which is about 8% ahead of last year's call pace. A couple of the notable events. On the 16th of the month, we were called up to an Edison Boulevard business for some abandoned fuel cans full of an unknown liquid. Spent several hours up there helping the business owners sort through the content of the containers and how to dispose of them. On the 19th, we sent an engine crew over to Northfield Village to help with the fire at the Northfield racetrack. On the 21st, we sent a ladder crew over to Streetsboro to assist with a working house fire. On the 22nd, we had a truck rollover at 91 northbound at eastbound entrance ramp onto 480. Had the ramp closed for about 2 hours. And fortunately, the driver was not injured, but there was a small fuel spill with that as well. While that was going on, we had a call next door at Arbor Glen where a resident drove completely through one of the garage buildings and into a second garage building, striking a car in that garage and narrowly missing the gas meters for the building. So just an interesting combination of events for that day. And then on the 30th, we responded to a fire call on Enterprise, East Enterprise it's actually for a fire alarm, and arrived to find that they had a fire in the building, was extinguished by the sprinkler system, but in the process, a gas leak developed within the building and 2 employees were burned. They were transported to the hospital by co-workers prior to our arrival, but fortunately the damage was limited and they're operational again. And we also had 2 overdose events through the course of the month. One of those events required 4 doses of Narcan to stabilize the patient. So the severity or the strength of the drugs they're taking is just getting stronger and stronger. It's taking more to correct the problems when we have the opportunity. In fire prevention, we completed 70 fire inspections throughout the city and township. We completed 2 fire investigations. We also had 185 training sessions totaling almost 600 hours of training. Points of interest within the city, the weather warning sirens for April were tested on the 7th, and they all functioned, again with the exception of the one that's on Bavaria Parkway in the township, and the township is working on the repair of that unit. On the personnel front, as the mayor mentioned, we did swear in Demetrius and Brandon. That is partly due to the retirement of Bob Davitt, who served us for 28 and a half years, and then Dan Wagner, who retired on March 2nd, April 2nd, I was right the first time. After serving us for 18 years, he came to us from University Heights Fire Department. So we would just want to thank those guys for their service and congratulate them on their retirements. CERT team's already been mentioned. I'll just add that in the Summit County area, they're it. Copley has a team, but ours is really the most active, and we're just really proud of the work they do. And ACBC was mentioned earlier this evening by the mayor, and I believe one of the fundraisers that they're doing at the library. Just for your general awareness, we have a aluminum can bin behind the fire station that also the proceeds from the collection of the aluminum cans goes towards ACBC. So it's another way you can help fund the Burn Children's effort. So that's my report for this evening. I'm going to go have some
Thank
pizza
you.
and
Yeah,
cake.
thank you.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Chris, you report?
Good evening, Council. Well, the Service Department personnel have returned from their winter operations. During the time that they spent on winter operations, they completed 24 snow and ice events. They applied 7,443 tons of salt and drove 32,000 miles. By comparison, last year was 21 events, a little bit lighter. Going back to 2013-14, they had 41 events. So a little bit lighter this year, but spread out quite a bit. So we did bring them back from winter operations. They've started the spring and summer work that we do. First thing they did was go out on branch chipping. They first went out on leaf pickup. They started that the first Monday that they came back. And the idea there was to clean up everything that was already at the road. So they did that. It just took them 3 days. They had 123 stops. So the next thing we want to do is do another we didn't announce that. We want to do an announced pickup. We're going to do that on May the 14th. And the key here is we want to ask residents to have their leaves out at the street by the 14th, because what we'd like to do is allow them time to clean their yards, but have everything at the street so that on the 14th we can start that route, finish it in hopefully a week or so, and then move on to our other duties. So if we're going to get the word out, but if council can help with that would be appreciated. The other thing we did was our first round of branch chipping, which was scheduled, which is always scheduled. Our next one, well, that one took, we had 201 stops on that, took us 3 days to complete, and we will be out there next on Monday, May the 7th. So we always go out the first Monday of the month, so it's not till the 7th, gives them people a little bit extra time to get the branches out, but we will do that. Again, we're in the spring season. Our fleet manager tells me that all of the equipment for the spring is ready to go. We're going to wait a little bit on street sweeping until we get maybe one more good rain event, get the little bit more salt off the roads, and then we'll roll into that program. So we'll be doing street sweeping pretty quick. Athletic fields, we've got the soccer fields ready to go. I understand that the season starts on Friday, so that will be ready to go. We're working on the baseball fields. And one of the things the mayor asked us to do was make sure we have all of our flags at all of our locations lit, especially the baseball fields. So we have units, they're solar powered, that will sit on the top of the poles, and we're going to get those installed in the next week. So all of our flags will, and it, like I say, it's solar powered, so it'll be pretty easy installation. And the last thing I have, I just want to let you know that the walking trails sustained quite a bit of damage in November, and we're starting to remove a lot of we're cutting up the trees. We don't remove them, we let them lay, but we're doing that work. And then we have one bridge on Monarch Trail that was damaged. A little bit of rot. We think a tree fell on it, so we're going to be fixing that, and then we'll have our normal operational repairs and things to those trails. And that's my report.
Hey, Chris, your leaf collection on the 14th, that's going to be a one-time shot until
Yeah.
the fall then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're hoping that we can just start and go through that route and finish it up, so.
And one last thing, I just want to thank you and your crew, the resident that we talked about on Liberty Road.
Yes.
Was very satisfied. You guys came out, the other guys came out, and I guess they cleaned her ditch, and there was a problem there, and she had that drainage problem. So she was really, really, really happy with your
good.
service
Good.
in the city of Twinsburg. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thanks.
All righty.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right. You want to report? All right, come on up, Larry.
All righty. Good evening, everybody. Council, Mayor. We have a number of items on the agenda tonight for council action from the Community Planning and Development Division. First and foremost would be the CRA agreement for O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly is making a significant investment in the city of Twinsburg at about $35 million, and will be constructing a 404,000 square foot building and bringing more than 400 employees to the city over the next 5 years. So we certainly welcome them to the city of Twinsburg and are working with them to finalize the arrangements for that facility. The Twinsburg Tax Incentive Review Council has reviewed all the incentive agreements that we have active, and they did that towards the end of last month. And they recommended to council that 10 agreements be continued, 10 CRA agreements be continued. The CRA agreements are tax abatements for real property. They also recommended that 8 Twinsburg occupancy program agreements be continued. The top agreements are basically income tax-based grants that are paid to a company the year after they've contributed income taxes to the city of Twinsburg. The Turk also recommended the modification of one Twinsburg occupancy program agreement by lessening the benefit from a 33% rate to 25% equivalent of income taxes paid. And also recommended the termination of 2 Twinsburg occupancy program agreements, and all those are on council's agenda for this evening. For those entities that have had a modification or termination, the letters will be mailed after council meeting. They'll be mailed tomorrow. The Twinsburg Planning Commission has approved changes to Chapter 1171, the tree and vegetation protection regulations of the city, and also to Chapter 1172, the landscaping provisions. These modifications were done primarily to eliminate conflicts with another portion of the code that's in the building department, the tree regulations that appear at 1347. The modifications of 1171 and 1172 will likely come before council at the next council meeting, as will the recommended rescinding of Chapter 1347, the tree regulations. So it's just kind of a heads up that'll be coming your way in the near future. In addition, the Planning Commission has reviewed and recommended that donation bins be regulated, and that portion of those new regulations will appear in the business regulations of the code as opposed to being in the zoning code. And that's partly to help us make the property owners and the business owners more responsible for the condition and location of the donation bins. As has been mentioned, the Twinsburg CIC will meet on the 17th at 6 p.m. in the jury room. And just one other thing, we're taking advantage of, and want to thank NOPEC for a couple of grant opportunities. They've provided a NOPEC community sponsor grant, which provides $1,000 towards local events, and we're looking to utilize that $1,000 towards the Taste of Twinsburg, and coordinating with Derek Schroeder, the Parks and Recreation Director, on that. And then we also have a community energy grant that we are eligible to receive up to $41,000 for, and we're working through some lighting improvements for the fire department, and we'll have remaining money left over for other energy-related improvements in the city, and we'll address those throughout the year. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks.
Sarah?
Me now? Okay. So I wanted to give you a first quarter update compared to where we were last year on our cash, our general fund, and the debt. Cash, we've got $9.1 million in the bank, and we've got $12.3 million in our investment accounts. So that's $21.5 million total. Last year at this time, we were at $30.1 million in our bank accounts and our investments. So that's down $8.6 million. 3.2 million of that is using the clubhouse note for construction costs. The other 5.4 million is disbursements exceeding receipts for the city. The general fund right now is at 7.25 million. Last year at this time we were at 10.57 million. So it's down 3.3 million. And that's including encumbrances. We have paid down debt at $1.37 million from last year, so the debt's going down. And our interest earnings are going up. It's actually 90% higher than it was last year. We're at $35,000 in interest earnings compared to $18,000. And I did meet with Meter regarding our investment account, and we have an opportunity maybe to make a little bit money because the Star Ohio account interest rate's going up. So we might look at scheduling a Treasury Committee meeting sometime, maybe summer, fall, when we have a better idea where our cash is at. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's all we have.
That's all we have, okay. Then we'll move on to legislation. Ordinance 28, 2018.
An ordinance authorizing the sale at auction of certain personal property owned by the city of Twinsburg and no longer needed for municipal purposes.
This is the third and final reading, so I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 28, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. This is a list of no longer needed items to be sold on an online auction, govdeals.com. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ordinance 28, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have ordinance 44, 2018.
An ordinance amending section 151.01 of the codified ordinances of the city of Twinsburg regarding the Environmental Commission and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 44, 2018, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Barr. This was due to we had a lot of really qualified applicants, so I think the council decided that we had some great teams that came out as well to try and allow more people to get involved. The reason for the emergency is so that we can appoint another teen rep as soon as possible. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Emergency clause passes 6-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 44, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Steele. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ordinance 44, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have ordinance 45, 2018.
An ordinance establishing salaries, wages, and employment descriptions for certain employees of the city and updating classifications of employees to be known as the salary ordinance and declaring an emergency.
Okay, this is the second reading, and I believe we're just going to leave it as that.
Yeah, we can leave it as that.
Any discussion? Okay, next we have ordinance 46, 2018.
An ordinance amending Chapter 182 of the codified ordinances of the City of Twinsburg, establishing a municipal income tax ordinance.
That's the first reading. Now we have resolution 47, 2018.
A resolution in support of Issue 3, the 6.9 mil renewal levy submitted to the voters by the Twinsburg City School District on the May 8, 2018 primary election ballot.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 47, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Bellin. This is a council support of the school district renewal levy. As I'm an employee of the school district, I will need to abstain from this vote. But I do have a couple of comments I would like to make. Mr. Steele had mentioned earlier, what was being done by the administration to try to slow the bleed. And I can say, being an employee, that these people are working hard. They're doing everything they can. They do go down. We get constant updates. We are right on the edge. I do feel that confident in saying that our school board and our administration are doing everything they could possibly do to try to make this change. So I do, I just wanted to make sure that everybody did understand that. And I also want to say that being an employee there for the number of years that I have, that it's never easy to spend money, but I can confidently say that there's not a lot of waste. It's money well spent. The kids are really getting a good quality education. Again, I do have to abstain. So any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to add, as the father of three boys in the school district, the schooling that we provide our children is outstanding. I recognize that this is a renewal. I also recognize that it is real dollars and cents. But I can speak for myself that I'm not willing to deal with potential, reduction in staffing, services, and programming that, to keep us at that excellent level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. First off, I wasn't saying that they weren't. My point was that I don't think we, as a state, are putting enough pressure on the people in Columbus to get the change done. Okay. But I am concerned about our people that are here in town that are on a fixed income and the amount of money that's going out. I'm torn with this. I'm not at that point.
Right.
I am retired from one thing, but I'm still working, I'm still making money, and I feel like, Cindy and I, we fully expect that we will be paying whatever we have to pay to keep the schools going. We've had 3 kids go through our schools, and I think they turned out pretty good. But I am concerned about the fixed income people in town, and I've had several people tell me that this is going to be a big bite. So I expect that this is going to pass, but I'm not going to vote for it tonight. I'm just going to say no.
Well, for the people, I certainly understand everyone's.
The biggest issue, this is close to me. My mother's a retired teacher of 35 years, and my wife is an educator. She's a school teacher. School funding in Ohio is fundamentally broken. The state, for years, has balanced their budget on the backs of local municipalities. This isn't a partisan issue, because both parties are guilty. This is a lack of funding epidemic that is going to continue to plague all of us. I completely appreciate your point about fixed incomes. I mean, that is something that all of us at some point are going to have to deal with that situation. I applaud the efforts of the board and the administration of the schools for doing what they can to try and make that change. I hope that in my lifetime I see that, and that it's not levy after levy after levy. With that being said, like Mr. Bell and I have young children, I think that One of the driving reasons we moved to Twinsburg was because of the excellent schools and the opportunities here. And I will personally be supporting the levy. But I just wanted on the record that this isn't a Twinsburg problem. This levy issue is a state of Ohio problem. I wish I had a solution for it, but we need to just kind of keep banging the drum and making noise. So I wish you guys the best of luck with this in May.
You know, my mother was assistant superintendent of schools for 10 years and retired so that she could be a grandmother. And that was in the mid-'80s. And she was complaining about the unconstitutionality in the way that schools are funded. So one of the things about Twinsburg that everybody is proud of is the ratings we get on Money Magazine and how we get ranked as one of the best suburbs in Ohio. Part of being one of the best suburbs in Ohio is supporting our school system. So I think that, again, this is a renewal. It's not an increase. And that part of supporting our community is to support this. Thank you.
My few comments that I'd like to make is that I believe that, I'm not going to echo what everybody said because I agree with everything that they said as far as any of the problems and the things that are right about it. This is a renewal, so it's no additional monies. So nobody's going to get anything back, but they're not going to pay any more. And I agree with the elderly population that it's going to become harder and harder for them, and I hope that we can sustain the folks that we have here. But I think first and foremost, and I believe this will pass council tonight, and it'll probably pass at the ballot on election day. That I'd like to, the city and the school have worked together very well, I think, for all the years that I've been around here in the city of Twinsburg. And I'd like to see that continue, and I would only hope that with our support tonight, that if the need should ever come on behalf of the city, that we can count on the school board and the school system to support us as well. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 47, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Bellin. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
I just abstain. Abstain.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
No.
Motion passes 5-1, or 5-1. No, 4-1.
4-1.
Apologize, 4-1. Good luck. Next, we have Resolution 48, 2018.
A resolution authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with Century Equipment for the purchase of a Toro Groundsmaster embankment mower for use by the Golf Maintenance Department.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 48, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So, yield.
I made this motion. It was seconded by Mr. Barr. This is a $32,104 mower that was part of the capital budget to replace an old mower that was purchased in 2001. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Resolution 48, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have Resolution 49, 2018.
A resolution appointing one member to the Environmental Commission.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 49, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Steele. This is the appointment of our team member, Alexander Denker? Alexander Denker. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Resolution 49, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have Resolution 50, 2018.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with O'Reilly Auto Enterprises, LLC, under the Community Investment Area Program created pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3735.66, for real property tax abatement.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 50, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Scannell Properties will construct a 404,000 square foot facility for O'Reilly Auto Parts. This should bring in over 400 jobs. The 50% tax abatement is over a 15-year period, and it's subject to revenue sharing with the school district. Any further discussion?
I just want to welcome O'Reilly, hopefully, to the city here.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Anything?
I thought the mayor was going to say something. I'm excited to have O'Reilly here as well.
Yeah.
It's a $35 million investment, 400 employees with over $11 million in salaries that will support the city. So,
That's very exciting. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's pass it.
Okay, let's do this. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Resolution 50, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have Resolution 51, 2018.
A resolution authorizing the continuation of various agreements under the Community Reinvestment Area Program created pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3735.66 for real property tax abatement.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 51, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. So the Tax Incentive Review Commission met and evaluated the businesses receiving abatements under the CRA, along with other tax incentive programs. The businesses that were listed in this resolution met their commitment and are all being recommended for continuance. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Resolution 51, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have Resolution 52, 2018.
A resolution authorizing the continuation of various agreements to provide tax incentives under the terms and conditions of the Twinsburg Occupancy Program established by Ordinance 144, 2004.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 52, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Once again, the businesses here evaluated the businesses receiving tax incentive under the TOP program. There are 8 businesses listed in this resolution that met their commitment and are being recommended for continuance. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Resolution 52, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have Resolution 53, 2018.
A resolution amending the Twinsburg Occupancy Program Agreement between the City of Twinsburg and American Bottling Company as recommended by the Tax Incentive Review Council.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 53, 2018. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll
Yep.
yield.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Bellin. Now, the business listed in this resolution did not fully meet its commitment and has been recommended by the TIRC for reduction in the abatement from 33% to 25%. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Resolution 53, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have Resolution 54, 2018.
A resolution terminating the Twinsburg Occupancy Program Agreement between the City of Twinsburg and United States Fittings, Incorporated, as recommended by the Tax Incentive Review Council.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 54, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Now, this business, the business listed in this resolution was unable to meet its wage and job creation commitment during its 3-year agreement. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Resolution 54, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. And finally, we have Resolution 55, 2018.
A resolution terminating the Twinsburg Occupancy Program Agreement between the City of Twinsburg and Go-To Marketing Print Management Partners as recommended by the Tax Incentive Review Council.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 55, 2018. Is there a second?
A second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. The business listed in this resolution was also unable to meet its wage and job creation commitment, but it had it during its 4-year agreement. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Resolution 55, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we'll move on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous. Mr. Barr?
I have nothing further this evening.
Mr. Bellin?
Nothing further, thank you.
I just had a couple of things I wanted to mention here. I do want to congratulate Daisy. You're just a gem. And also, the CERT team, congratulations on their 5-year, and it's still amazing to me what they've done. Finally, I would like to thank Bill for working on that Tax Incentive Review Committee and for the rest of the people on that committee. That must have been quite a night or a couple of days or how long it took you to go through that.
It's easy after you do it a bunch of times.
Well, you guys did a nice job, so thank you very much. And that's all I have. Mr. Scafidi?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Steele?
Congratulate Mrs. Walker. You are, as everybody has said, the reason we have such a great environmental council. That's it.
Mr. Fury?
Let's play golf.
I'm ready. Mayor?
I have nothing
I'm
else,
s-
thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Nothing else for me this evening.
I'm off right.
Mr. Maestros?
Nothing, thank you.
My kid's
Shannon?
gotta go to
Actually,
Worcester.
yes, I believe we need a
Oh, I
bid
did
to add to
need to
the-
make a motion, yeah.
Yeah, motion to add to the
I
bid list.
apologize.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I would like to make a motion to add PID 107603, SUM.CR 1209.91, Ravenna Roads resurfacing to the bid list for 2018.
I'll second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Any discussion? Okay.
You need it.
Shannon, yes. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Ms. McFerrin from our meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Now I need to make a motion to enter into an executive session to discuss matters pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121-22G14, contract negotiations and personnel.
I'll second.
Made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Please call the roll. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We'll reconvene and report on executive session after. Thank you.